Though we have all traveled many uncertain roads, we have always recognized something wasn't right. We searched high and low, yet our paths had never intersected. Our desire to seek truth, then to speak true, has brought us all together. That thing of ours is rooted in truth, because truth is the only unshakable foundation. In the greatest book, it states in John 8:32, "For ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free."
Truth is a powerful force. It is the foundation on which all great achievements are built, and the bedrock of trust and respect in any relationship. When we are rooted in truth, we can be confident that our decisions and actions are grounded in reality rather than in speculation or wishful thinking.
The pursuit of truth is not always easy. It requires courage, perseverance, and a willingness to face uncomfortable facts. But in the end, the truth is always worth it. It allows us to make better decisions, to build stronger relationships, and to create a more just and equitable world.
From politics and world events to entertainment and pop culture, we've got you covered. We'll explore our history and the stories that matter to uncover the truth that lies at the heart of each one. With our fingers on the pulse of the news cycle, we'll provide the insights and analysis you need to stay informed and engaged. As we stay rooted in truth and let the truth guide us in all that we do, let us be willing to listen, to learn, and seek out the facts, even when they challenge our own assumptions or beliefs.
Let us never forget that the pursuit of truth is not just an individual endeavor, but a collective one. Only by working together
With honesty and integrity,
can we build a better future for ourselves
And for generations to come.
This is That Thing of Ours. How's it going, everybody? Thank you for joining us today on this Wednesday, 20th of November, 2024. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for joining us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, X, Rumble, and Pill.net.
and if you haven't already, please take a minute and give us that virtual hug. If you're over on YouTube or Rumble, hit that thumbs up. If you're over on pill.net, take that red pill. If you're over on X, smash that heart. And if you're on Facebook, you have like 7 choices. So just pick a button.
Something like that. Yeah, pick the buttons. Pick the buttons.
Thank you guys for bearing with us yesterday. Santino had one hell of a migraine that lasted for 4 days. So
It's been screwing around for a while.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so it's finally broken. Yeah. Thanks for your patience with us on that one.
Yes.
And so, yeah, we did what we could. We played a little bit of Tucker yesterday, always sharing some good information. So, yeah, hopefully that was fun for y'all too.
Let's say hi to the fam. We
Hi
got
to the
Aaron
fam.
in the house.
Hey, Aaron, what's going on,
Got
man?
F. Clint in the house.
Yo, F. Clint, what's going
Got
on?
Chachi in the house.
Hey, Chachi.
Got Miss Steph in the house.
Hey, Steph.
She was early tonight because she was watching her dog chase a possum up the tree.
Watching your dog chase it. Okay. So
Mhm.
treat a possum.
Yep.
Sounds like fun.
Mm-hmm. Got
Hey,
Mike
Mike.
in the house.
What's going on, Mike?
Let's
Let's see. Who else do we have here? I see like tons of people here today.
You're jealous you don't have fancy gifts?
He doesn't have fancy gifts.
Pilled has a bunch of fancy gifts.
Yeah, Pilled has all sorts of fancy gifts.
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
There's little Lunker.
Hey, little Lunker, what's going on? Saying hi to everybody out there.
Yes.
Nice.
Let's see.
It's
Breezy for sure.
breezy. Breezy. It's breezy out there.
There's Miss Jenny.
Jenny.
Watch out for the frogs, Jenny.
Watch out for the frogs, Jenny.
Yes. Thank you all for joining us.
Yes.
We got other Mike in
There's
the house.
the other Mike. Other part of Mike Squared. What's going on,
Yes,
Mike?
other part of Mike Squared. Let's see. There's Miss Colleen.
There's Colleen. Hey, Colleen.
It is hump day. Hump day.
Hump day. Yep, yep.
See? Dog chased a
Trump
possum up
day.
a tree a few
Dog
minutes
chased a
ago.
possum up a tree. Sounds-
There's Miss Carol.
Hey, Carol, what's going on?
What do you mean you don't
What?
say that?
Don't say that. That's an awful thing to say.
Steph, Pilled is good.
Pilled is amazing. Anyways.
And then hold on. People showing up over on Pilled. Let me.
Oh,
get
yeah.
that
Well, we
one
got to say hi to our
over.
Pilled fam out there.
Yeah.
Don't have the
I'm
help
getting
anymore.
there. I know. Takes me a little bit longer. Good evening.
Good evening. Pud As Pudnut. Thanks for joining, friend.
Exactly. So how's everyone's hump day going?
It's hump day.
Hump day?
Almost there. We're making our way through.
We are
Making our way through.
making our way through.
So yeah, since we missed so much recently, I think we should probably just go ahead and jump right in.
You ready?
Yeah, let's do that.
Can you read that, please?
CNN is not handling the new MAGA party superheroes very well while whining about the Trump dance.
You ready?
Yes.
Look at the shot right now coming in live. We got Musk there. We got, I don't recognize everybody. There is there's President Trump, Senator Bill Hagerty of Tennessee, who is also thought to possibly have a position coming in the administration. Senator Ted Cruz on the left with the shades. Is that Ronnie Jackson on the right with the hat? I can't really tell. What do you make of this? They fashion themselves on social media as this legion of superheroes, this incoming administration. Tulsi Gabbard, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., et cetera, et cetera. I guess we're adding pictures and names. I know you now you're looking at me like you mean the Legion of Doom. But
it's the Marvel universe versus second-rate DC, but that's.
I mean, if I understood what that meant, I would probably have a better opinion about it.
But
if we're talking about like
Musk, talk to me about Musk. What do you think about the role he's playing in this administration?
Listen, this is one of the most successful people that the world has ever known, and the ability to build businesses and think outside the box and be an entrepreneur. That's a voice that the president really values. But when you look at this totality, this kind of theme that they all think they're superheroes now, there's a little bit more swagger with the Republican Party now because they did win the White House, the House, and the Senate. You see it in sports now where people are scoring touchdowns and goals and winning matches and doing the Trump dance. There are Republicans who are feeling pretty cool about themselves for the first time in a long time, but they should stop. The guys should all stop doing the dance unless they're athletes.
The dance is a little weird, but unless
it doesn't quite work unless you're Donald Trump because
if Elon Musk wants to help fix the federal government, he should get a government appointment, go through security clearances, go through conflicts of interest disclosures, and the like. It's really hard. The idea that he's going to go butt into every agency, he'll have Trump, obviously Trump's a promoter. No one's going to refuse to tell Musk something or show him documents. Then he goes right back to his private business and uses the information however he pleases. It's really unbelievable.
Not to mention the fact that he has so many government
Well,
contracts.
this is where I was mentioned is that when the U.S. government decided not to continue its own space shuttle development and advancement, it did outsource to places like SpaceX. And so he has this heavily subsidized and now is going to be overseeing the same agencies that have been giving him money and making this profitable. Now, it's one of the coolest things in government is to be able to go and see a space launch, right? It is the idea, the moonshot, you really feel like you're doing something bigger than yourself. But Elon Musk is not accountable to anybody in the American public, wasn't elected, like you said, not confirmed. And his whole goal is to really just go in, as he says, as a big hammer and break things. And some of these things that he wants to break are actually really healthy and productive for keeping basic standard of living in the United States. It's that whole disruptive idea of technology, that disruption for its own sake is the ideal, as opposed to what's the impact on people.
I think we can all agree that this government could use some disrupting, but it's also good for people to go through background checks and be vetted by the Senate through its constitutional advice and consent.
Thoughts?
So, is that one statement caught me right there towards the end where she said, just disruptive for the sake of being disruptive without considering the impact that it might have. And it's like, hey, jackasses, that's what we've been telling you for decades, that we don't want all of this fancy crap that you keep spending money on. I don't care what gets a sunfish more drunk, tequila or whiskey. It doesn't matter. It doesn't do anything. And who's wasting all that damn tequila and whiskey on the fish? Right. Stupid. Anyways, so they never considered that before. Hey, Chops, thanks for joining. But then to be butthurt, truly butthurt about the fact that people are doing the Trump dance. And it's like, only sports players should be able to do the Trump dance outside of Trump. There's no kiss my ass. No, you just don't like the communication. You don't like the fact when people spike the football, but y'all been spiking the football even when you stole the election, as if you actually won something that meant anything. No, you stole an election, which means everything. So yeah, don't really care that you don't like the fact that, we're happy for the first time in a long time. And we had to put up with Obama for 8 years, solid, and it sucked.
Yeah.
But you know,
It sucked bad.
oh, it sucked real bad. But now the thing is, and it was oh god, it was a great post. It was a Q post. I'm gonna have to find it.
F. Clint says the fish very well could be having a good time.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
but how much was that? It was hundreds of thousands of dollars.
hundreds of millions.
No, it was thousands. It was
Was
hundreds.
it?
Yeah, it was hundreds of thousands.
Mm,
Obviously, I mean, at least it got the good whiskey and good tequila.
true.
Didn't give it the $2 Chuck shit.
Well, there's that. Mad Dog.
A little bit of Mad Dog.
Mad Dog 2020.
Then a bit of Angry Sunfish.
Right?
Mostly, at work, lurking today. All right, well, lurk away,
Lurk
Chops.
away.
Lurk away.
Lurk away.
Anyways, all right, so what do we got next? I'll try to find that cue drop.
Okay. You ready?
Yeah.
Can you read that, please?
Savage Speaker Johnson says, let me be unequivocally clear. A man is a man and a woman is a woman.
Ready?
Yes.
Hello, everybody. I just want to make a statement for all of you here and be very clear. I was asked a question this morning at the leadership gaggle, and I rejected the premise because the answer is so obvious. For anybody who doesn't know my well-established record on this issue, let me be unequivocally clear. A man is a man, and a woman is a woman, and a man cannot become a woman. That said, I also believe that's what Scripture teaches, what I just said. But I also believe that we treat everybody with dignity. And so we can do and believe all those things at the same time. And I wanted to make that clear for everybody because there's lots of questions. But that's where I stand. I've stood there my whole life, and those are facts.
Thoughts?
All right. So, well, it's nice to hear that the speaker knows the difference between a man and a woman. Too bad so many that are in Congress have no idea what the difference is. Or
Right?
Yeah.
There's a damn mosquito in here and it's driving me crazy.
Yeah, I know. Well, thank God we live in the desert because there's no mosquitoes in the desert.
I know.
Thanks, Bill Gates.
And your
Freaking
dumbass.
genetic bioengineering of freaking mosquitoes. Really? Mosquitoes?
I know.
Whatever.
I know. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Can you read that, please?
Stephen Miller explains why President Trump is the greatest champion of democracy.
Even though we're a constitutional.
Yeah.
Ready?
Yeah.
Arm of the Democrat Party. And we will find an FBI director who is going to likewise lead an effort to get the FBI back to basics, find criminals, find cartels, find gangs, find terrorists, and put them in jail or send them home. But do not use the awesome powers of the FBI to try to rig our democracy, as has happened in recent years. This is why President Trump is indeed the greatest champion of democracy in modern American history, because he weathered the attacks, he withstood the assaults, and now he stands here on the verge of taking the oath of office, prepared to make these agencies, make these departments once more answerable and loyal to the citizens of this country and to no other interest but them.
If there are some cabinet appointments that become troublesome, will the president use the recess appointment process?
Yes, the president has won a mandate and he will use all lawful constitutional means to fulfill that mandate on behalf of the people who voted for him in record numbers.
All right, Steve.
Thoughts?
Kind of sounds like nothing can stop what's coming.
Right?
It wouldn't be the first time, and we know that the mainstream media is going to whine and cry about recess appointments
Oh, I know.
as if they didn't use the same tactics.
Right.
And so a lot of these people, Trump's going to get them in one way or another. He knows who they're going to fight against. He knows, a lot of these things because he's already played this game. He played this game for 4 years. And think about the number of appointments that were bailing out on him before. See, the thing is what President Trump learned the last time is all of these people who are presented to him to put in these major cabinet positions, they have those special interests at heart. now this time he has no special interests, and he's going to put the people in that they're most afraid of. And understanding the people, putting those people in that they're most afraid of is going to be a sticking point that they're going to make all the noise about. And so he's just going to use the procedures that they put into place to kind of end around them. And then he's going to do the cleaning of house. And that's kind of one of the things that the Q post for today, one of them was talking about, how do you clean up the FBI when there's all these corrupt players that are in there? Well, more than likely,
Cash Patel in.
well, you
That's
send
what
Cash
I'm hoping
Patel in,
for.
but I'm pretty sure what you do is you get rid of a lot of these employees. Some may or may not be targeted at specific areas within these various governmental three-letter agencies to clean out, some of the more corrupt aspects of it, and then to split it up so that way it's going to not have the ability to do what they did before. And so this is part of that process, but he's going to need to put the people in place to do the things that he needs done. And so he knows the game. I'm not worried about it. I'm sure he's not too worried about it. But we know that they're going to do their best to try to prevent him from cleaning house.
Exactly.
The big house cleaning is what it is. Chachi says, it's the cabal's turn to sweat now. Exactly.
Exactly.
It's exactly what's
Chachi.
going on. The hunters become the hunted.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's gonna be
that's going to be the fun part.
glorious.
Yeah. Let's see. The government is in need of a good ROF.
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm not picking-
Elaborate, Mike.
Yeah, elaborate, please.
You ready?
Yes.
Let's listen.
Being in a close relationship is about not how quickly you can get offended, but how quickly you can get over it. The Lord gave me a real specific word for somebody who needs reconciliation in your relationship. It's very simple what they have to do. If they're going to stay like they started, if we're going to get back to where we were, we're going to have to learn. Watch this. This is very profound. It's deep. You're going to miss it. This is what you're going to have to learn. You got to learn to drop it. You got to learn to drop it. And I don't mean suppress it. I don't mean you don't deal with things after they happen. But after you've had the conversation, Dan, I like pancakes on my birthday, then drop it. You can't always control what's handed to you, but you can control what you do with it. So what are you going to do with the offense? Come on, Dan. You can't choose anybody else's actions. The enemy wants you to drive it down deep. He wants you to think about it and miss all the reasons that the person has worked their way into your life and miss all the things they've done for you. And he wants to drive it, but God says, drop it. I believe that there are some things that we need to drop tonight. In fact, Jesus said, this is so important, that if you are in church at the altar offering a gift and a sacrifice, but the primary relationships in your life are dysfunctional and need reconciliation, you can't even properly connect with God unless you drop it. Do it again, Dan. Drop it. Every time they do it, I want you to reinforce it. 1, 2, 3, drop it. What are you going to do when they don't acknowledge you, when they don't notice you? What are you going to do? What are you going to do when they are too busy to show you the love and affection, but you know that they're trying as hard as they can to? You got to...
Thoughts, sir?
So it's about letting go. We've talked about that a million times here, and truly, like when we were all growing up, I'm sure pretty much each and every one of y'all watching heard this: water off a duck's back. And it's about, don't absorb it, let it just go. It like, if you don't have to engage, then don't mess with it. It's not worth your time. It's not worth the energy. It's not worth the hate. It's not worth the negative, negativity in your life. If it's going to bring negativity, really, you need to concern yourself with your own peace. And if it's an unnecessary thing in your life that you can just drop and let go of, why engage? Why make yourself unhappy? Why make yourself miserable if it's something that's like, oh, well, that sucks. I'll pray for you, and kind of leave it like that. If it's not yours, if it's not your burden to bear, and there's no
And you don't
benefit
have
to
to
it.
be offended.
Yeah, and you don't have to be offended.
Drop it. Let it go.
Let it go. Yeah, simple. Exactly, Steph. Drop it.
Drop it.
Drop it like Todd.
Drop it like it's hot. There you go. Little lunker. Let it go.
Let it go.
Cast
your cares on the Lord.
You ready?
Yep.
We got Justin.
Beautifully said.
There are so many people out here that are waiting on God, but God is actually waiting on you. It's the truth. Heart of a man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps. We've all heard that, right? Well, how many of y'all believe that? How many of y'all understand that? I didn't. I believed it, but I didn't really understand that. But once I got a hold of this is what the Lord showed me. So you have to let him know what you want, and then he'll order your steps. Now, what I found out in life is when he orders those steps, sometimes it's out of route. Sometimes it's the long way. Sometimes you're going to lose some stuff on that journey. Sometimes you're going to lose a lot on that journey. Them steps sometimes are long steps, sometimes they're short steps, sometimes they side steps, sometimes you moonwalk backwards, you know what I mean? So point is, you have to know what you want in life. You have to go after something, but you got to be totally open to what may or may not happen to achieve that, because God is working in a wisdom that you don't know about. He's seeing things that you don't. Ask God for something. It's not always going to look like what you think. It's not always going to look like what you think it's going to happen. It's not always going to look good. Let me show you how this scripture worked in my life. And when I went through divorce, I did like everybody does. You go through a depression but after about 2 or 3 months into it, I was like, Lord, I don't want to live like this anymore. And he said, fine, lose weight. And I'm like, lose weight. Okay, step. Lost weight. And then he said, work out. Step. Okay, now I'm working out. Okay. All right. Get back in my word. Step. Got back in his word. Do TikTok. Step. Here I am. Ministry. Leap. Step. So here I am. But here's the thing about it, y'all. This is what's crazy. You can't start counting your steps at your time of trauma. Because once I started thinking about it, my steps began a long time ago. Actually, my divorce was one of the first steps that God was moving me into a new season. You see what I'm talking about? You have to trust his plan. But you know what you also have to do? You have to develop your own plan. Because when you do that, then he has confidence you're ready to move.
Thoughts, sir?
So God's waiting on us. That's really, I believe, more of our problem than anything else is we're not getting out of his way.
Yeah.
I would say that's the problem more often than not. God wants to bless us more than we even know how to ask for. He knows what's right for us all the time. So what really is preventing us? Us. How is that? Because we're not doing the things we know that he wants us to do. Deep down inside, we all have that little inkling, oh, I shouldn't be doing this or I should be doing that. Yet we don't ever do it. And that's kind of part of it. I know that I'm trying to take more active steps and dealing with those kinds of things. We make progress wherever we can, and we try to get better each and every day. All we really ever ask for, Kay and I of ourselves is, God, we pray that we're better than we were today.
Better today.
Or better today than we were yesterday, and better tomorrow than we were today. Just looking for that constant bit of progress. Some days there's more progress than others. Sometimes it may feel like we're going backwards, but forgive yourself for the mistakes and keep focused on the prize. And that prize is getting that connection, getting that closeness. And that's really what we're looking for. And that closeness and being able to do the things that he wants us to do is how we get out of his way. So that way he can bless us exponentially, so much more than we could even ask or imagine.
Yes, absolutely. Are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Could you read that, please?
Yes, one second. Dear DOGE, Milton Friedman wanted to cut most of it.
Ready?
Yes.
14 is a lot for television, so I want to just go right down the list quickly and have you give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. Keep them or abolish them. Department of Agriculture.
Abolish.
Gone. Department of Commerce.
Abolish.
Gone. Department of Defense.
Keep.
Keep it. Department of Education.
Abolish.
Gone. Energy.
Abolish. Except that energy ties in with the military.
Well, then we shove it under defense.
That's
The little
right.
bit that handles the nuclear,
Right, that ought to go under
plutonium
defense.
and so forth goes under defense, but we abolish the rest of it. Health and Human Services.
There is room for some public health activities to prevent contagion, such a thing as, for example.
So you'd keep the National Institutes of Health, say, and the Center for Disease Control down
not
in
the
Atlanta?
National Institute.
Oh, no?
Those are mostly research agencies. No, that's a question of whether the government should be involved in financing research.
And the answer is no.
Well, that's a very complicated issue, and it's not an easy answer with respect to that.
We'll eliminate half of the Department of Health
Yeah,
and Human
something
Services?
like that.
Okay, one half. There we go. Housing and Urban Development?
Out.
Oh, didn't even pause over that one. Department of the Interior?
Oh, well, but housing and urban development has done an enormous amount of harm. My God. If you think of the way in which they've destroyed parts of cities under the rubric of eliminating slums.
Jack Kemp.
You know, you remember that Martin Anderson wrote a book on the federal bulldozer describing the effect of the urban development. There have been many more dwelling units torn down in the name of public housing than have been built.
Jack Kemp has proposed selling to the current inhabitants of public housing their unit, their townhouse, their apartment for $1 a piece, and just shifting the ownership to the people who live in.
If you got rid of the Department of Housing and Urban Development, it would be worth doing that.
All right, done. That's gone. Department of the Interior, your beloved National Park Service.
Well, given that the problem there is, you first have to sell off all the land that the government owns. But that's what you should do.
But it could be done pretty quickly.
It could be done. You should do that. There's no reason for
All right.
government to own. The government now owns something like 1/3 of all the land in the country.
And that's too much. Should go down to zero.
Should go down to, well, not entirely zero. They ought to own the land on which government buildings are.
Okay, terrific. Department of Justice.
Oh, yes.
Keep that one.
Keep that one.
Labor.
No.
Gone. State.
Keep.
Keep it. Transportation.
Gone.
Gone. The Treasury.
You have to keep it to collect taxes.
All right, collect taxes through the Treasury. Veterans Affairs.
You can regard the veteran affairs as a way of paying essentially salaries for services of those who have been in the armed force, but you ought to be able to get rid of it.
You should be able to
just
pay it off.
Pay it off.
Pay off lump sums, perhaps.
That's right.
And just get rid of it. Okay, Milton Friedman, if you are made dictator for one day, the next day the American government...
No, I don't want to be made dictator.
You wouldn't?
I don't believe in dictators.
Okay.
I believe we want to bring about change by the agreement of the citizens. I don't believe in arbitrary rule.
Let me put it this way then.
If we can't persuade the public that it's desirable to do these things, we have no right to impose them, even if we had the power to do it.
All right. From 14 departments down to four and a
basic
half.
fundamental functions. What are its fundamental functions? Preserve the peace, defend the country.
All right.
Provide a mechanism whereby individuals can adjudicate their disputes. That's the Justice Department. Protect individuals from being coerced by other individuals. The police function.
Right.
And now, this is both the central government and the state and local governments. The police function is primarily local and central.
Right.
And those are the fundamental functions of government, in my opinion.
Milton Friedman, thank you very much.
Thoughts?
I love Milton Friedman. He's amazing. He's one of the greatest economists that America has had for the longest time. And I know Chachi that he said, was it Chachi that was? F. Clin was talking about how doing great until he said keep the IRS. But at that time, there was absolutely no thought of getting rid of the IRS. Whereas right now, Trump is talking about, getting rid of pretty much every tax, and hopefully that's on the road to get rid of taxes altogether and just stick with the tariffs the way the nation actually used to run. And that was back in the 80s. That was back in the 80s that was going on, and that he was talking about get rid of all this stuff. And that was very much how Reagan was. He wanted to get rid of a lot of stuff, but you couldn't get rid of all these, different departments within the government. But now there's this opportunity, and we may not get rid of entire departments. I think we're going to get rid of a couple. I think Department of Education is pretty much gone.
Yeah, it's gone.
Yeah, it's pretty much gone.
Sending that down to the states.
Yeah, and then I think they're going to absolutely gut everything else. Yeah.
I do too.
Yeah, I think it's going to be gutted. And this is the kind of thought that was being taught when Trump was going through the Wharton School of Business, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Because I know Milton Friedman, he was actually out of Chicago. So that kind of tells you how far Chicago's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Mike says the CIA is gone.
You think it's gone? I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be gone so much as it's going to be broken up into a million pieces.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But I think that a lot of the necessary functions will remain.
Yeah.
I think that there will always be a need to spy, sadly. But,
yeah, I know.
The way governments are around the world, the only thing we know about governments is you can't trust them.
Exactly.
It's filled with people.
Exactly.
And people are people-y, and we make mistakes.
Well, there is that.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah.
Can you read that, please?
Kevin O'Leary on DOGE. Release the Hounds.
Ready?
Yep.
Here's a breakdown of federal spending, just so that folks at home know where their tax dollars are going. Healthcare, 25%, Social Security, 20 to 25%, defense, 13 to 15%, safety net programs, 10%, interest on the national debt, 8 to 10%. The way it breaks down is 61% of spending is mandatory, 13% is on debt service, 26% is discretionary, which really will be the target of DOGE. And that is a small piece of the pie to try to wring $2 trillion out of, Kevin.
I don't know. I think healthcare could be another place of savings. We haven't really used any technology there yet. We haven't really digitized medical records. We really haven't brought a mandate of AI into that. I think we could save a lot of money. The U.S. has one of the worst term IRR returns on healthcare spending. When you can compare it to some of the European countries like Switzerland or England or France, they do a much better job. But they share the records on a much more ubiquitous basis that we do. We're always concerned about privacy, but I think we could fix that too. But I like looking at everything. I don't see any reason why these two can't just release the hounds and go nuts. Everybody's interested to find out what they're going to see. And I'd like to hear it myself, because maybe it's a means test on Social Security. We have to fix this because the deficit's getting a little big right now. And the bond market's starting to get a little uneasy in the 10-year. I worry about that.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question that Social Security is something that might need to be looked at. But Simpson Bowles said, let's look at that. And Republicans in Congress said, nope, not going to touch that. So Elon Musk is having no end of fun with all of this. America, his PAC, produced this tweet saying, quote, the Pentagon just failed its 7th audit in a row. The nation's largest government agency is unable to fully account for its budget of over $824 billion. They don't even know where billions of taxpayers' money is going. Efficiency is coming, to which Musk retweeted with a comment, sounds like a job for DOGE. I mean, he really looks like he's looking forward to getting into the numbers here.
I rest my case, Your Honor. Here he goes. He's just going to keep on these guys, hitting him every day to a billion people that are willing to listen, and the head squeezing begins. I love head squeezing. This is fantastic. They're going to think he's going to go away. No, he won't. He'll just keep going and going and going and going, and no one's going to stop him. He owns the network. We've never had anything quite like this, and I absolutely love it. This is terrific.
All right. Well, we'll see if they can wring that money out of the federal budget. It'll be something to watch. Kevin, great to.
Thoughts?
I think it's something that we're all going to have fun to watch as he guts the government. It's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah,
it needs to be done. Seventh audit they have failed.
Yeah, consecutive.
Yes.
Audit. 7. Number of completion. Isn't that interesting?
Huh.
Well, regardless, there's going to be a lot of house cleaning.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of fat and pork in $2 trillion. and it's like it shouldn't be hard to figure out what is and is not important. What is your government agency supposed to do, and what has your agency's performance been? Oh, I don't know, since its inception. Starting with the Department of Education. I think that an example is going to be made out of the Department of Education. I think that's going to be the first one because it's just stealing the money from the states. All they do is they take that tax money that they send it to the federal government takes those education tax dollars. They take 25% off the top, and then they turn around, send the 75% right back to the taxpayers area that they took it from, with stipulations about what's supposed to be done
and how it can be used.
Yeah. And that's clearly been abused to support one specific side's ideology, as opposed to creating intelligent children who can recognize the difference between two pieces of information and recognize and think about what would be best for them and their thought process. So yeah, DOE, poof, gone. And I think that there's going to be some embarrassment involved with a lot of that towards the people who have been and it's going to, excuse me, let me back up a little bit. The embarrassment is going to be directed at the people who have been stealing this nation's money and making our children stupid to the point where everybody should sue the school system because it affects all of us. Well, you don't have a kid going to our school. It doesn't matter. You're making stupid kids, and they're not even going to be able to flip hamburgers. They're so damn dumb.
I know.
So yeah, make an example out of the Department of Education.
Like
and so that way everybody else that they cut recognizes that they don't want to make too much noise because it'll be really ugly for them. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch this one play out. Steph says, oh, they really need a good audit. Oh, yeah. Oh, there's so many audits that need to occur. And I think that those audits, they might just point back to so much of this corruption. I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of answers as to why and who specifically was involved as we start to gut all of these agencies. And DOJ being one of them, get rid of the problem children, and then you have real investigators that are in there and have had to keep their mouth shut this entire time, and now they can do the real research, and then we can get some house cleaning going that's going to protect us far, far into the future, which was one of the things Q alluded to on one of the posts for today. Chachi says, how hilarious is it that DOGE has metamorphosized from meme status to reality, much to the cabal's dismay. Yeah, I think that is one of those epic trolls, and it was done specifically because they probably didn't like it, made them angry.
That, though.
Yeah, Trump is good at that, and Elon likes to poke the bear too.
He does.
Yeah. Steph says, and we, the people, are really be,
we really should be.
We really should be pissed off. That's our money that they're just stealing.
Yes,
that's exactly what it is. It's our money that they're stealing. Meanwhile, you have a hard time paying for your groceries. They're out there living it up, getting all of the perks and bennies that life has to offer.
Exactly.
Steph says, okay, my granddaughter is 16 years old, and I know I taught it to her, but she doesn't even know the whole Pledge of Allegiance. What? Pissed me off. I taught it to her over the weekend. Wow, that's amazing.
That
16 and doesn't even know the pledge?
So angry.
Wow. And I'm sure that it was a Department of Education kind of mandate that they stopped saying it because it might upset some people who hate him. Yeah, it might offend some people who hate this country. Oh, geez, we should worry about the people who hate us. I mean, we should worry about what we're going to do about them.
Exactly.
Not what we're going to do to kiss their ass. Yeah. Anyways, go cower, in your own little world. Stop screwing up our country. But that's okay. You'll be in the employment line.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, there might not be a whole lot of unemployment benefits funded by the federal government here in the future, though.
Yeah.
Just a thought. Let's see. SP. So it ain't a daily thing in schools now?
Nope.
Apparently not.
Nope.
Had no idea. Well, America.
And see, Jenny says my kid's school still says it every morning. Thank God.
Then it's got to be state by state, or maybe school district by school district.
Steph,
That's
you
interesting.
should not be embarrassed for that.
No,
you
no,
should go
no,
to
you
the
shouldn't be
school
embarrassed.
and tell them that
They
they're
should be embarrassed.
They should be embarrassed.
They should be embarrassed.
Ugh. You ready?
Yeah.
Can you read that, please?
Let's see. Even Democrat Senator, what is his name? Klutz?
Chris Coons.
Oh, Chris Coons sees potential good in Elon Musk's DOGE.
Ready?
All right. There we go. Yes.
Some Democrats are getting on board with the idea of DOGE, even if they think the goal of cutting $2 trillion of government spending is a little too lofty.
But they could save tens or even hundreds of billions of dollars. Depending on how it's structured and what they do, this could be a constructive undertaking that ought to be embraced.
And as you know, John, Musk is famous for cutting costs at his companies like Tesla, SpaceX, and there's some reporting that when he bought X or Twitter back then, he went line by line through their budgets and cut all sorts of costs out, looking to do the same thing with the federal government.
I was saying to Mr. Wonderful this morning that if Elon Musk could successfully leverage X to embarrass people into getting off the government dole, then that $44 billion he paid for it would probably turn out to be a bargain.
Thoughts?
So it's the house cleaning is it coming?
It is.
And people are excited about it. There's I'm sure that there's people on both sides of the aisle that are truly excited about the house cleaning that we've needed more than anything else. I also think that it would give people that encouragement that they may not have had to be willing to stand up and stick their neck out, unlike they were able or willing to do before, because they just felt that there was too much power because they knew where and who is getting what tax dollars behind whoever's behind everybody's back. And with the DOGE coming to clean house and take out all of those pork barrel projects, people just aren't going to have the money to be able to support the corruption that they've been doing. This is going to absolutely upend the way government is done or business is done with and around and surrounding the government. It's going to be very different. Chop says, I'm homeschooling. I have too much love to send anyone to a Michigan school. Yeah, I can understand that one. You know, it's like it is a leap that is made because you can't trust the system, and it requires a huge learning curve on the parents' part to try to be able to get those things. Now, with that being said, the homeschooling system is made so that way you can teach your children, and I think that that's a great thing. But I can see a lot more people just going to homeschool in the future, or small classrooms where families work together to pay, a teacher to teach their kids. Any number of things. The education market is about to bust wide open.
Exactly.
I think that's the one people are most excited about out of cutting everything.
Yes.
But I think that one's our future. And that's why that's one of the things that they went after. What was it? Saul Alinsky's rules for radicals. It was specific. I think it was like one of the first ones of those rules was to infiltrate the education system. Well, yeah, not going to be able to do that a whole lot longer. Not the way you used to. Chachi says, might already be happening, F. Clan. Didn't Trump ask for his presidency to be documented as starting on November 6th?
Huh. I haven't heard that.
I have not heard that either.
Yeah.
But things have certainly changed because I know that now that there's peace talks for Ukraine and Russia.
But Putin said he'd only talk to Trump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the why.
That's
exactly the why. Steph says some people can't afford to stay home and do homeschool, and that's the sad part. I agree with you, Steph. I believe that there should be enough money with each job, like it was before, when minimum wage, you could buy a house, you could buy a car, and you could feed a family of 4.
Yep.
Off of minimum wage. Now, it wasn't anything big or fancy, but that was the kind of system, and that is the system that encourages people to pick themselves up by their bootstraps. Because if you can afford to survive off of one job, making the absolute minimum that anybody can make, then you have a reason to not only survive, but have that encouragement that if I work hard and I apply myself and do good things for the company might take care of me. but that's something that's changed over the decades
Yeah.
for a while.
I mean, companies used to give you things for your 5-year, 10-year.
The 20-year Rolex.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rolex, gold Rolex.
Yes.
Yeah. You know what? You've been with this company for so long. You've been an integral part. We love you. We care for you. We thank you for all of
And
your
now
effort.
they don't care.
And so we've decided to give you this gold watch. And it's like, yeah, so who's getting the gold watch now?
I'm glad she went to the UK, Jenny. Ellen can stay there.
Ellen left. Oh no, what a loss.
Not. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Can you read that, please?
No, I can't. Sky News reported a bit of an escalation for farmers protesting in Westminster.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
You're watching Sky News Today. Still to come, farmers preparing to protest in Westminster as inheritance tax anger grows. We'll be speaking to cereal farmer Ollie Harrison.
Thoughts?
What the hell kind of farm equipment was that?
I know.
Damn. Maybe they're the ones doing the chemtrails.
Well,
it's the damn farmers are doing the chemtrails.
Yeah, that's what it is.
What?
Oh, goodness.
Well, thank God the news is out there getting everything right.
See, that's sad, Carol. She says companies I've cleaned for 15 years barely know her name. That is stupid.
Yeah. I've got so many comments to that end. There's so many comments to that end about how we really are just a number. Yeah. And that was something. God, who was that comedian? Angry, always cussing.
Oh, George Carlin.
George Carlin. That was one of the things that dude was talking about all the time is they don't even know who you are. You're just a number to them.
Yeah.
And that's what we are. It was just a number. And it's like, you know what? It's time to have heart put back in business. The left, they scream and rant about, capitalism's evil. Well, if this was capitalism, then I would say that capitalism is evil, but this isn't capitalism.
Yeah.
This is cronyism.
Yes.
Cronyism happens whether it's a socialist economy or not. Mm-hmm. See, the problem are the ass kissers and the ones that say whatever they need to say or do whatever they need to do, apparently, Diddy parties, so that way they can, climb their way to the top. They want you to think that they worked hard, but we're really finding out what it took to get to a lot of these places. Is it all of them? No, not by any stretch of the imagination. And I know that there's great employers out there that care more about the employees sometimes than the employees themselves.
Yes.
There's great employers out there, but the problem is they're so hard to find because it seems like
few and far between.
Yeah, because it seems like too many people are worried about the bottom line and thinking like BlackRock and Vanguard, et cetera, et cetera.
You ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you read that, please?
Peter Saint, what is that? Onge, Ph.D. Says Americans spend $546 billion trying to figure out their taxes.
You ready?
Mm-hmm. Fuck the IRS.
The American people spend over $500 billion per year defending themselves against the IRS. That's spitting distance from the $800 billion the Department of Defense spends protecting us against foreigners, well, failing to protect us in the case of the border. So forget Ukraine, forget ISIS. The calls are coming from inside the House. The number comes from my based colleague Richard Stern, who reports on a new tax foundation study that the income tax costs Americans $546 billion per year in compliance alone, compared to our national defense budget at $849, which is supposed to protect the American people, yet completely fails to protect us from the IRS. Note this, $546 billion is on top of the $4.9 trillion they actually took from us in taxes. And of course, it is separate from the economic impact of taxes, which might add another $15 trillion in lost income. Breaking it down, the 546 is made up of 7.9 billion hours Americans spend complying with the tax code, which at 10 million words is the length of 21 Lord of the Rings trilogies, all made of pure legalese. Of course, nobody actually understands the tax code. That's why big corporations hire tax lawyers at $500 an hour. But regular Americans, many of whom cannot name a state thanks to government schools, are assumed to have completely mastered the entire 10 million words of legalese, or they will throw you in a cage. That's equivalent to nearly 4 million Americans working full-time and without pay, doing nothing but tax paperwork. That's the population of Los Angeles. It's also 46 times the workforce of the IRS, meaning for every tax bureaucrat we pay to steal from us, another 46 Americans have to spend their evenings and weekends helping the IRS steal instead of playing with their kids. On top of the hours, Americans spend another $133 billion a year out of pocket on things like tax software. So that's about $1,000 per year per household. So you could have bought groceries. Instead, you bought TurboTax. Note, 546 doesn't begin to estimate the cost of the IRS. I mentioned in previous videos, studies estimating that we lose $3 in production for every dollar taken in taxes, since taxes discourage production. So why work, why build or expand a business if the government is just going to take it? That suggests the $4.9 trillion in taxes the IRS actually does take are costing us roughly $15 trillion in lost output. So 546 in compliance, 4.9 in lost taxes, 15 trillion in lost output. Rarely have so few taken so much from so many. For perspective, that comes to roughly 8 times what Americans spend on housing. It's 10 times what we spend on food, all for the IRS. So what's next? Brought to you by Unchained.com. A constant theme in our administrative state is spending trillions protecting us from threats that are not real. Ukraine, climate, transphobia, while it ignores the threats that are very real, from inflation to street crime to predatory taxation that forces us to run on a treadmill until we are 70. Between Trump's promised tax cuts, Elon's spending cuts, and slashing the administrative state that strangles the economy, we can see light at the end of the tunnel. But there's a lot of special interests, from uniparty politicians to millions of parasitic bureaucrats who desperately want to keep it going. Okay, we'll be watching. See you next time.
Thoughts?
So he said never before had so few stolen so much from so many. Yeah, that's the IRS in a nutshell, because really we're not getting any value added out of that. By the way, the IRS can kiss my ass. They chose to finally send us our taxes back. An eighth. They have determined that there were no interest or penalties that they were going to apply to themselves for stealing our money for the majority of an entire year, and decided that we only needed 1/8 of what they were supposed to pay us. And that's probably, but we're probably better off than using one of those corrupt ass companies that are buddied up with the federal government, making sure that people aren't getting the full amount of return on their taxes that they should, and making people feel like they actually paid to do something good for themselves while getting raped by the government. It's really aggravating. And it's not just the theft of the taxes. Apparently, it's so much more. $3 for every dollar that's taxed is added onto that. Yeah. So $4 for each tax dollar is what they steal from us throughout the entirety of our paycheck.
Yes.
Yay. Anyways, Chop says, we get rid of the IRS and Federal Reserve, single income households might become profitable again. I don't think we should stop. I know I'm not personally going to stop, talking about whatever I can talk about until we get to that point. I think that it's extremely important that it should be a single income household. I think that will fix so many things, because it will give the family to have somebody that's there to take care of the children. It will give the household a chance to have somebody there to make sure that everything's moving smoothly while somebody else is going out there and earning the money and bringing that back home. And they work hard, they save hard, they go on vacations, they get to pay their house off, and they go live happily ever after. I don't think that's asking too much, because it's something that's been done before. Hell, Henry Ford, the socialist that he is, he did a great thing with the $5 a day workday back when the money wasn't sick. So yeah, getting rid of the Federal Reserve exactly will help us out tremendously, because our money won't be sick. We need healthy money that's backed by a commodity that's actually going to mean something to anybody. And we need to make sure that people can actually afford to live. And probably getting rid of the illegal aliens. How many millions of them are here?
20.
20 million. Yeah, I think out of the 20 million there, it might free up some jobs.
Yeah.
Colleen says full-time is a thing of the past. Yeah, sadly. They all hire just part-time now as well. Yes, ma'am. You are correct. They only hire part-time because they don't have to pay for benefits.
Yes.
They don't want to pay for your insurance. My God, then the employer would have to pay for something. Yay, BlackRock. Yeah, great. Mike says they don't have the money, Santino. Yeah.
Oh, and this comment right here, Steph. She said she had her taxes done at H&R. Please, I beg of you guys. I have a master's degree in accounting. Don't ever go to H&R Block.
Find a local
They
accountant.
are the worst. Please, I beg of you.
Don't go to those. If
go
they
there.
advertise on TV, probably
Don't go there.
probably not in your best interest.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah.
Shop that one around. But you know what? Maybe we're not going to have the IRS next year. So who knows? Chachi says, I had to play Fed for the past 4 years. No returns, only state, and they withheld from me last year. Yeah, aren't they special?
Yeah.
Carol says, I just can't see any prices ever coming down.
They will.
They will. And so what I think can happen, and I think it could happen
no.
relatively easily. Oh, no, the power went out.
Oh, no.
What's going on?
Well, make sure you let us know you're okay, please.
No, F. Glenn. No, Kay is not doing everyone's returns.
I do a lot of returns every year.
No, she's not.
I do a lot of returns every year.
We help where we can.
Yes, we do. If you guys ever have any questions, please let me know.
So back to, I think it was Carol. I just can't, Carol said, I just can't see any prices ever coming down. When we transition from the Federal Reserve monopoly money, fiat crap that we have right now to a currency or a commodity-backed currency, they can dictate what the price is per dollar. And the way that would work is they could say, okay, your dollar is now worth a penny. So $100 is now worth $1. And it's just, it's what they decide, and it will be relatively easy for people to understand, because I don't think President Trump would do something that's going to be overly complicated, especially if we're getting rid of the Federal Reserve, especially considering how complicated the federal
tax would be awesome.
Not having a federal tax would be awesome, because we're citizens and we went for over 100 years without federal income taxes. They don't need the shit.
That's what
it's
he's
just to
talking
steal
about,
from
tariffs.
us. Yeah, tariffs. And so I think that anything that's not the Federal Reserve garbage currency thing that we have right now is necessarily going to be uncomplicated. It's going to be extremely simple in comparison to the crap that they have now. I think it's going to make a lot more sense because it's going to be simplified, and it's the simplification that is what's going to make it easy for everybody to understand that we were getting screwed. Tax luxury items only.
Oh, look, we have a troll.
Oh, we have a troll. What?
Yeah, we have a troll.
Oh, the man hacked a lottery machine and won 24 million.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
You ready? I have Kelly.
Did we ever respond to that Nigerian prince?
No.
He's going to make us millions.
No.
Okay.
Ready?
Okay.
I have Kelly.
But the Nigerian prince.
And this is more important.
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question today? Are you tired, exhausted? Do you feel like after you gave your life to Jesus, all you've done is tried and tried to get through your sin, but it's just not working? You see the sin in your life. You know sin separates you from God, but no matter how hard you try, you just can't get the sin out of your life. Look, if that sounds like you, I've got some truth today that'll set you free. And oh, son, this is good. Look, my friends, the first thing you need to know is if you could fix your sin, you would have by now, but you can't. You see, here's the problem. You gave your life to Jesus because you realized, I'm a mess. I'm a sinner and I need a savior. So at the church service or at the camp, the conference, the whatever, you raised your hand acknowledging I need Jesus in my life. But the very next second after you did that, the devil started whispering in your ear, but you didn't recognize it as the devil because what he said to you sounded like it came from God. Oh, what is the lie that he told you? He probably told you something like this. I see you gave your life to Jesus. Good for you. See all that sin in your life? If you can just get through that, you'll have a great relationship with God. So get to work. Well, hold on there, Kelly. Why would the devil tell me to get rid of the sin in my life? Doesn't the devil want me to sin? And there you have it. We don't catch the lie of the devil because why would the devil want us to work on our sin? I'll tell you why, friends. Because if you're focused on your sin, you're not focused on Jesus. Now, could someone in the comments quote me the scripture where Jesus says, you and I will tag team your sin issue? Can someone quote me the scripture where God says, you go and fix your sin? I'll wait. That's what I thought. It doesn't exist. You will not find one place in the Bible where God tells you go fix your sin. Do you know why? Because you can't, and the devil knows that too. So if he can get you focused on your sin right out of the gate, day one, he just gave you an impossible task. And instead of being kingdom focused, you're castle focused. I gotta fix my life. I gotta get rid of this sin. Oh, really? I thought that's what Jesus came to do. Listen, my friends, let me tell you the truth today. As long as you are using your hands to fix your sin, using your hands to work on your life, you've stopped God from using his. Our God is a gentleman, and if you want to fight the battles in your life, he'll let you. However, if you will hand him the battles in your life and you let go, that's when he'll take his hands and do the best work you've ever seen. So let me encourage you today. Your job is not to fix the sin issue in your life. Your job is to expose it. Light kills darkness. Shine light on the sin in your life. You focus on Jesus. He'll fight the battle. He'll grow you and mature you into who he's created you to be. You see, the devil really only has one trick, my friends, to make you believe you don't have what you already have. He's been doing it since day one. Just the same thing he did in the garden to Eve. Hey, girl, if you eat this fruit, you're going to be just like God. Oh, really? Whose image were we created in? God's. Who was Eve already like? God. The devil's trying to make you believe God's holding out on you. Come on, do you really think that's the case? It's not. God gave everything for you. Your salvation, bought and paid for. Your healing and deliverance, bought and paid for. Your marriage, your kids, your finances, your job, you're bought and paid for. Stop focusing on what's wrong with you and start focusing on what's right with him. If you could have fixed your sin by now, you would have. Clearly, we can't. So let's let him. You don't have to fix everything in your life to be in right standing with God. Jesus bought and paid for that for you too. Shift your focus today. Stop looking at your sin and start looking at the one who set you free. And think about that for a minute.
Thoughts, sir?
So it's an interesting dance, isn't it? I mean, we hope that, we'll be absolved of our sins, but we're absolved of our sins, but we still have to deal with the very fleshly desire, and that's spoken of time and time again. We have to almost curse ourselves sometimes because we have difficulty trying to get our flesh under control, right? But we got to give it to God. And what I've found that kind of happens with me is I find these things that are positive, that keep my mind busy and focused on things that are creating something good in the world, as opposed to having that time to sit around and worry about, nothing, which inevitably leads to everything terrible because you start feeling bad. Oh, all these bad things are happening. And then you get back into those old patterns. So, when we get those inspirations, which I believe is sent from God. I mean, after all, an inspiration is to breathe into, inspire. And so those inspirations are for us to help us. And those things, I believe, are the things that he sends to help us out. Our prayers do get answered. It's whether or not we're listening. And, maybe we just need to listen a little bit better. I know I do.
Me too. You ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Let's listen.
Oh, God, I have to listen
We've
more.
got breaking news out of New York City. Alvin Bragg's 34 felony count case against Donald Trump has just been adjourned. The case has been stayed. Reading directly from the Trump transition team's communication director, this is a total and definitive victory for President Trump and the American people who elected him in a landslide. The Manhattan DA has conceded that this witch hunt cannot continue. The lawless case is now stayed, and President Trump's legal team is moving to get it dismissed once and for all. So the lawless lawfare against President Trump is coming to an end. President Trump is not a convicted felon. You are not a convicted felon until sentencing is rendered, and sentencing will never be rendered. And how are the Democrats reacting right now? By enacting their own insurrection. Democrats have stormed the Senate in response. This is an insurrection, according to their rules, not ours.
Thoughts?
So, yeah, they're dropping all the cases. I mean, we were kind of watching this happen months ago.
Dad.
Hey, Dad, thanks for joining. So, yeah, when they stopped trying to do all of the things, when it was starting to look like President Trump had enough momentum that he was going to win the election, all of these things were stayed and paused and put on hold. We're going to defer and rethink about this one a little bit later. And this is one of them. And so, yeah, I guess he's not a felon now. And I'm sure that there's going to be calls of corruption, in which case they'd be right. There is corruption, just not the corruption that they think it is. Right. But that's okay. President Trump, by the time he's done, and everybody that he appoints in all of these various places, I have a feeling that the corruption is going to be rooted out. After all, when you try to get rid of weeds, you got to make sure you get it by the roots. Otherwise, that bastard grows back. And President Trump wasn't able to do it the first 4 years, but this 4 years, there's not going to be any roots left behind with which they can try to grow back the monster that they use to take over this country.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be really clear at some point in time.
I'm excited.
So where was that insurrection happening? Where did he say that was?
That was in the Senate.
In the Senate?
Mm-hmm.
Huh. It's all over CNN, right? As an insurrection?
Mm-hmm. Interesting, right?
Yeah. Weird.
But they're not calling that an insurrection.
Oh, so it's not on the news as an insurrection.
Right.
Oh, really? Huh. Did they stay in between the velvet ropes?
No.
No, it didn't look like it.
No.
That's-
That was just a peaceful protest.
That was a peaceful protest. Okay. I really need to get my insurrection versus peaceful, definitions fixed.
Yeah, I know.
Apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Chachi says, weird how in New York City, Eric Adams was defending Trump recently, and MSG rally was so successful, and now this almost is almost like patriots are in control or something. I know, weird, right?
Weird.
It's like we're watching a movie or something, because all these things just keep happening perfectly, huh? Yeah, that's weird.
Very. You ready?
Yeah.
Can you read that, please?
James Comer has evidence that FEMA has pattern of discrimination after hurricanes.
Ready?
Yeah.
The big weekend show. FEMA Administrator Deanne Criswell is expected to testify Tuesday on Capitol Hill after disaster relief workers were accused of skipping over homes with Trump campaign signs during last month's Hurricane Milton rescue efforts. House Oversight Committee Chair James Comer says this isn't the first time they've done this.
It does appear that they told employees that, and it appears that this is not an isolated incident. We believe this is a pattern, and this is a pattern dating back for the 3 previous years, all throughout the Biden-Harris administration.
Here's what a FEMA whistleblower told Fox earlier this week after accusing the agency of using her as a scapegoat for this.
When I first reported to Florida, I was already on another team. I was there as a specialist. This was the culture. They were already avoiding these homes based on community trends from hostile political encounters.
And it's not just Florida. According to Comer's findings, FEMA has operated with political bias in multiple states.
We've been in communication with other members who have talked with other FEMA employees about incidents of other hurricanes that happened in other parts of Florida and in other states. And it appears that this is a pattern of misbehavior by FEMA employees who were instructed, do not help people in affluent neighborhoods, do not help people with Trump signs in their yards or Trump flags or anything that would give the impression that they were not a supporter of the Democrat machine.
But FEMA claims they've resolved this issue, telling Fox Digital, quote, FEMA helps all survivors regardless of their political preference or affiliation. While we believe this is an isolated incident, we have taken measures to remove the employee from their role and are investigating the matter to prevent this from happening ever again.
What, the leak?
Yeah. Thoughts?
So well, good. I'm glad FEMA's trying to prevent another leak from happening ever again.
I know.
Although I think that we'd like to, deal with it, in a manner that is, worthy of people who do the crime of misusing their position or authority for personal gain or to take out their political wet dreams on the other side. Yeah, I know. God, the prisons are going to be full.
They are.
They're going to be so full.
Yeah. Steph says, yep, that's what they're doing, trying to fix the leak.
That's all I believe that they're trying to fix is the leak. You know, and another thing that I see happening too is as these people, just like this lady, get confronted with the crap that's going on, they're going to turn, they're going to roll. There's no honor amongst these people.
No.
It's not like they're old mafia hitmen or something and they understand, you know, it's like, you know, you are loyal to the family before anything and everything else. That's not who these people are. These are just corrupt little weasels who would not make it anywhere in the world if they weren't handed this little cush gig that they have working for the government. So yeah, they're going to have a hard time moving forward. It's just, there's just not going to be anywhere for them to go. I guess they better be hoping that they can marry somebody who can be that single household, you know, earner.
Exactly.
Mike says, that's probably why I haven't seen anyone from the government after the storm. Yeah, I know you had a lack of power for so long, Mike. Yeah, I'm surprised that they weren't beating down your door to give you hundreds of thousands of dollars, you know,
Right.
Like they give to all the illegals.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You ready?
Well, I know that they didn't use our tax dollars for you, Mike. So
No, they didn't.
I don't know. We paid our part. They just don't care.
Yeah, they don't. You ready?
Yeah.
Can you read that, please?
Rand Paul says taxpayer-funded flood insurance rebuilt one home 41 different times.
Ready?
Yeah.
We're going to shut down the National Flood Insurance Program.
Louisiana Senator John Kennedy is upset.
What planet did we just parachute in from?
Upset because Senator Rand Paul wants to limit government flood insurance. He says it
shouldn't be for rich people and shouldn't be for their vacation home or their beach homes.
It shouldn't be. It's reckless that government insures beach houses. As I reported years ago, it encourages idiots like me to do foolish things like building this beach house. That's younger me there. My house was on the edge of the Atlantic Ocean, a risky place to build, but I built anyway because this federal program guaranteed my investment. Eventually, a storm swept away my first floor, but I didn't lose a penny. Thanks. I never invited you there, but you paid for my new first floor. Then the whole house went. Government insurance covered my loss and many others. I was grateful, but it's wrong that you paid for my risk taking. And it's good that finally one senator wants to limit the handout.
Some guy's got a $5 million mansion on the coast of Florida, should not get his insurance through the government. I was motivated by this guy, John Stossel, talking about his beach house 30 years ago.
Why not kill the program altogether?
That thought has crossed my mind, but you know, being a moderate, I just figured I'd try to compromise and offer an amendment that would require the flood program to cover only primary residences.
But even that little reform is too much for Senator Kennedy.
I thought Republicans weren't supposed to penalize success in America. If you earn enough to buy a second home, we shouldn't discourage that.
No, we shouldn't discourage anyone from building, but we shouldn't subsidize it again and again with taxpayer money.
One home in Virginia, they've rebuilt a house 41 times.
Taxpayers paid 41 times to rebuild the same house. There's no limit on how many times your government will give away your money.
Sir, have you been drinking tonight?
Federal flood insurance is like buying drunk drivers new cars. So why does it even exist? Because politically connected waterfront homeowners complain private insurance costs too much or isn't available. FEMA even pushed for the handouts, arguing
there weren't many affordable options for private flood insurance, especially for people living in high-risk areas.
But that's the point. One of the most useful functions of insurance is to warn people away from risky places. But instead of heeding that warning, our politicians said, don't worry, if private companies won't insure you, we will.
Protect your home with flood insurance.
Of course, the politicians claimed they'd price the insurance properly so they won't lose taxpayer money. But
Like most things in government, they continue to lose money
So far, they've lost more than $30 billion of your money.
and continue to issue the loans.
And they should, says Senator Kennedy.
The first role of government is to protect people and property. I thought this is what Republicans believe. I thought this is what libertarians believe.
No, libertarians believe government should protect our right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. It's not government's job to protect people from risks they choose.
You're actually doing the opposite of what you would think government would want to do. You're actually promoting bad behavior.
Kennedy must know this.
Yeah, I think like most programs, people want to look aside and away from the benefits to the wealthy and say, oh, this is for poor people in trailers in Louisiana.
These are homes of working people.
But in reality, it's really is about rich people's beach houses.
The government shouldn't be giving me money. I'm not proud that I took it, but when government's foolish enough to offer me a handout, I would have felt stupid not taking it. Senator Paul's right. Let's get rid of federal flood insurance and all subsidies that encourage people like me to build in risky places.
Thoughts?
So, I know that there's some questions about John Stossel, but he is putting the information out there. Plus, he doesn't really look like John Stossel anymore. So, why are we paying for people to have their house in zones that are going to get washed away? I don't think it's the responsibility of every American to pay for other people's mistakes. It's like as dumb as paying for everybody's abortions because it's some kind of right for people to make mistakes and we have to pay for it. See, that's the thing is America is about the freedom and the freedom to make stupid decisions because it's how we learn. But the problem is people don't learn from their mistakes if they're rewarded with millions of dollars for making a stupid decision. And they're encouraged to continue to make those stupid decisions, which can easily be washed away again. Hey, Paul, thanks for joining. So why is that? I can understand the concept of having a national insurance for people in disasters, which is what FEMA is supposed to be there for, to make sure that people can survive. Yeah, I mean, unless you're a Trump supporter, then apparently you deserve to die, as far as the government's concerned, for now. But despite that, I think that being there in times of need at this point, I think people are used to it. It used to be that the government wouldn't go out there to help you because it's not their job.
Yeah.
Because it costs everybody else money. It was always thought that that's what charities were for. That's why there was a strong local community in the church, because the community rallied around that church and they rallied around each other and they were there for each other in a biblical kind of way. And I think that that's what we need to get back to. But the thing is we got so used to living off of all of these government subsidized everything that we really don't know what it's like to be free again. And to be free, we have to be self-sufficient.
Yes.
And insurance for people in their vacation homes really just doesn't seem like it's anything that anybody else needs to concern themselves with, especially when they probably don't have a house of their own.
Yeah.
Carol says, I didn't realize that Santino fed money for flood. Dad says, gosh, I have always loved Kennedy. I am astonished.
Me too.
They all get paid by their, companies that pay for, their reelection campaigns. So I'm sure that the insurance company has helped him and he's got to say his part.
Basically.
That's what I'm going with.
Yeah.
Could be very wrong.
You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Can you read that, please?
Airbnb owner says the government offered $15,000 per month to house illegals.
You ready?
No.
I know, but we're going to listen anyway.
Yeah, I gotcha.
A local government is offering to pay me $15,000 to hold people that aren't from the United States of America in my Airbnb on a monthly or yearly basis, potentially. Based off all the changes, it seems like it might just be a monthly basis. $15K is a lot, and they didn't tell me how many people there are. All they told me is they are not citizens of the United States, and they should not be here by law. Now, I obviously asked for, hey, can you send me a contract? What's the guarantee? They're most likely break stuff. There might be 30 people in a 4-bedroom house. Like, what is this all about? Like, $15K is a lot of money, but a lot of money means there's some sort of baggage attached to it. I've actually gotten an offer, and before it was $10,000 to $12,000, so they just keep upping it. Maybe once we get to 2025, I will take them up on it. Originally, I wanted a longer term contract, but with changes going on right now, might not be the case. So we shall see. But that would be $180,000 for just 1 year. It's even crazier is I've never gotten an offer like that for veterans, homeless, U.S. homeless people, people in recovery, like anything else. So I'm thinking not going to do it. But it's like that famous musician and that podcast host going on. It is really hard to turn down that much money. Like my mortgage is like $1,400.
Thoughts?
I hope it's a trap. I hope it's a trap to catch those people who don't care, that have those kinds of resources. Because after all, when you're given those kinds of resources, I believe that you have a certain responsibility. You have a responsibility to the nation that you live in that got you so much wealth that you can have extra homes that you can, rent out, whenever you please. And I know that that's a way to make a living. That's fine. But if you're going to give it to illegals, especially with the knowledge that they've never done that for veterans or homeless people or addicts in recovery, halfway houses or any of those other things that citizens have to go through, but they're going to offer that for illegal aliens. Tells you
It's BS.
Yeah, it tells you that there's something very wrong with that. And to me, it just kind of smells like a trap, especially if the white hats are in control. I think it's there to find out who the really shady ones are. And you know what? For those people who are willing to take that $15,000 a month, it's a lot of money, but you sold your country out for $15,000.
Yes.
That's how I see it.
That's
and,
how I see it too.
Change my mind.
Yeah. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Let's listen.
A plum tree don't eat plums.
Listen to this.
A pear tree don't eat pears. All they get is water. Because the fruit ain't for the tree. The fruit is for people who pass by. Your gift ain't for you, which is why you can be depressed at home and be on the phone giving other people a word that'll flip their life. Have you ever hung up the phone like, I should have told myself that? It's because your gift, Michael, ain't for you. Watch this. Wisdom is.
Thoughts?
That's so well said, that our gifts aren't for us. It's a gift for everybody else. We just get the gift of being able to give those gifts out.
Mm-hmm.
It can be a challenge at times, but at the same time, we get these challenges so that way we can get filled up, so that way we can fill others up.
Yes.
Those gifts are amazing. And we know that it's good when it brings goodness to the world around us. And we are able to we're better able to do that when we're utilizing the gifts that God gave us. Thing is some of the greatest feelings that I think I've ever had in my life was when I made other people's lives better, when I made other people smile. Even just going to, back when we went to Walmart back in the day, I can only imagine what it's like being a Walmart cashier. I can only imagine the crap that you have to put up with.
Yes.
Lord knows that was one of the reasons why we started doing this, because we had to listen to the way people treated the cashiers. And so we made it our goal to make them smile and laugh. And it made their day a little bit better after they had some cranky ass customer, riding them about 3 cents on an apple or something. It's just the way it is. But the gift of making other people smile is truly rewarding to us. And I know that each one of you has those gifts. And when you see other people smile, it rewards you more than anything else. So really, we do get filled up, even though it may seem like we need that. But even then, just like he said, I've noticed where I've been giving advice and I was like, well, shit, I need to listen to that myself. Sometimes it hits that way.
It does. And it's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ready?
So use your gifts.
Use your
and
gift.
enjoy it.
Yeah. You ready?
Mike says Walmart has cash. It was back in the day.
They used to, Mike. Long time ago.
Long time ago when they had human beings at Walmart still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yes.
Read that, please.
Nicole Shanahan details how we will make America healthy again through agriculture.
Ready?
Yes.
Nicole, the reason I wanted to have you on here is to kind of kick this off. We haven't had a lot of opportunity
to really focus on what RFK is doing over HHS as he starts to man up and will be announcing it. But in his whole thing of make America healthy again, a huge aspect of that nobody's talking about, and that we pray President Trump is just as aggressive as he's been on these other nominations, is the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Can you just walk our audience through, because you spent a lot of time on this, that merger, when we talk about make America healthy again and everything RFK is going to do with big pharma and big medicine and that whole biopharmaceutical industrial complex, you're coming at it from a different angle, and that's agriculture. Walk us through your construct, ma'am.
Yeah, first, thanks for having me, Steve. It's a real honor to be here on your show. Well, it's going down right now. The nomination for head of the USDA is happening right this moment. And there's an opportunity for the first time ever to get somebody in there who's a real farmer, who's going to look out for the small family farms, and who's going to revitalize our soil systems. I came to agriculture through a very narrow lens of looking at climate change. And this is almost 10 years ago now. And I'm a technologist here in Silicon Valley. And I looked at every one of the climate schemes that they had brought up were being brought up and sold as these green energy programs, and none of them made sense to me looking at just the science and just the business of it. If we just look at carbon through this myopic lens of we have excess CO2 in the atmosphere, and that is allegedly leading to a heating and climate change patterning. If you just look at it through that, you spend time on the science, and you realize the opportunity of soil, and you realize the many, many benefits of tending to our farmland. There's about 900 million acres of farmland in the United States. And you look at the history of our relationship with soil. When you don't take care of the soil, you get the Dust Bowl. When you don't take care of the soil, people go hungry. When you cut down American farmland, you get inflation. You get expensive food products because the supply chain gets disrupted. And we saw that during the COVID-19 pandemic and the lockdowns. So you can't talk about any of these really big issues like inflation or climate without actually addressing the soil. You can't talk about health without addressing the soil. In this country, we use an enormous amount of glyphosate. Glyphosate has been tied for decades now to all kinds of autoimmune issues and cancers. In fact, Bayer and Monsanto, Bayer acquired Monsanto, has paid out over $11 billion in damages due to people getting sick from glyphosate and farmers getting sick, and these very well-defined cancers that have been defined and linked conclusively to glyphosate exposure. You cannot address so many of the issues we have in America without addressing the USDA. Tom Vilsack, the current head of the USDA, he was the head of the USDA under Obama as well, it's even hard to call him a commodities guy. He is somebody who is a puppet who's put in there to keep this whole system running as it is. He's made no major changes. To say that he's dedicated anything towards things that liberals care about, such as conservation, is, we've seen no movement there. The Farm Bill, something we don't hear much about that we really ought to be listening and paying much more close attention to in terms of what's going into it. These are 5 and then 10-year bills, budgets. The next one that's up right now is going to be the first 10-year farm bill that exceeds $1 trillion.
Thoughts?
So we got to get our farming back in order.
Mm-hmm.
They built that seed vault in Norway
Mm-hmm.
because of really, in the end, the genetic engineering that they've been doing to the food and how they've been destroying the soil forever and a day. And so, yeah, we have those basically heirloom seeds. I think that the heirloom seeds that are available should be fine. That it hasn't been, I don't believe all has been lost, but I do know that we'll have the ability to have real food again. I look forward to watermelons actually tasting like watermelons again. It used to be difficult to find a watermelon that tastes as awful as the watermelons do nowadays. Like you had to find them. Now you can't find a good watermelon to save your life, but they don't have the same texture. They don't have the same flavor. They don't really have anything. And I think a lot of that has to do with how sick the soil has been, because we've been doing all these chemical petroleum amendments for so long that now the soil can't even grow the food the way it's supposed to. But it's something that's been shown time and time again through proper care and maintenance that it can come back in just a year or two. It's not going to take long. It's not going to take long for our food supply to get healthy again, but it is going to take some time. It's going to take some time because there's so much that needs to be fixed and dealt with. And truly, farmers are going to have to switch to different, seeds altogether, because we can't afford to have this bioengineered crap anymore.
No,
And it
it's
shows,
killing us.
well, it is killing us, and it's showing their genetic markers on seeds of other kinds, and then they have the right to go after and sue you for stealing their genetic code that you didn't want to begin with. Yeah, the system's broken. Oh, it's going to be amazing when all of this stuff gets fixed. And I have a feeling that they're going to go through it with the top fine-tooth comb. And companies like Monsanto's, I think their days are numbered.
I do too.
Chachi says, what if that seed vault was built by white hats to preserve those good seeds for just this moment we are in now? I believe that that's a very real possibility. And I think that it's going to probably be utilized for a long time to come.
I agree.
Yeah, I hope so too. I think that, we got to clean some stuff out, but I think that we're going to have some good seeds and good food here again soon.
I pray.
Yeah.
You ready?
It's looking that way. We'll see how it goes.
It is looking that way. So we'll just keep praying.
Yeah,
every
keep
single
praying.
day.
There we go.
You ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you read that, please?
Hold on, I got to blow it up again. Jesse Water says Kamala smashed the Democrat Party to pieces with a $2 billion hammer.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Kamala Harris smashed the Democratic Party to pieces with a $2 billion hammer. Now the kingmakers are tearing each other apart, trying to seize control and rebuild the party from the bottom up. But what's the Democratic Party without any money? Kamala burned through $100 million a week during her little campaign. Now Democrats are in debt. She didn't win a single swing state and was the first Democrat to lose the popular vote in 20 years. So what'd Kamala do with her billions? New reporting from the Times shows Kamala gave $2 million to influencers and spent $10 million on concerts. Kamala blew $900,000 to put her face on the Las Vegas Sphere. And originally it was reported she paid Oprah $1 million for an interview. It's actually $2.5 million. They built a venue for a rally in Pittsburgh, but then had to tear it down because the Secret Service told them it wasn't secure. If only they'd done that in Butler. More than $500,000 went to Al Sharpton and Roland Martin, both people who just so happened to give softball interviews to Kamala. I'm not sure it's connected at all. And she spent thousands on Uber Eats and ice cream. I guess Joe's holdovers liked ice cream just as much as the big guy. While Kamala was eating dessert and making her friends richer, her staffers were getting stiffed. Kamala stopped paying some of her top staffers over the weekend, and now the DNC's firing hundreds of employees. The staffers are furious. One told Axios, quote, if they want to be the party of the working people, they should have more respect for their workers. There's an inauthenticity in how they talk about workers, and clearly voters feel the same thing. The heads are rolling and the Democrat grunts are revolting. To us, it's obvious why Kamala lost. But some people are still scratching their heads.
I don't know why the Democrats lost. I don't understand why prices have come down. The economy is good. I mean, I don't know why they voted against her.
Well,
against the party.
Others are still saying Kamala lost because America's sexist.
He's a great candidate, a great resume, but in some people's minds, anybody that's not white, and male is lousy. And we know that to be the case in this country.
But Slick Willie says Americans aren't sexist. We love women, just the right kind.
I think it would probably be easier for a conservative Republican woman to win.
Democrats are off message, and they don't have a leader to bring them together.
Look, I think Democrats are in the wilderness, as you just said before. There is no clear leader of the party. Joe Biden is going to be out of office shortly. Kamala Harris just lost the election. There are a lot of governors and other people who might emerge, maybe people we don't know about yet. But there is no clear leader of the party right now.
Oh, there's a power struggle behind.
That's
the
a
scenes of the
terrible color
Democrat
for
Party right
Zuckerberg.
now. They already told Pelosi to take a seat, and now AOC is telling Obama to take a hike. A lot of people want to bring Obama-era insiders back for party-building purposes. While those folks ran successful presidential campaigns, they also oversaw some of the largest down-ballot losses in modern times. Party building is different. Look to people with recent successes. Obama used to be a Democrat darling, but this election ruined his rep.
But boy, Obama during this Kamala Harris administration, it changed my opinion of that guy. Boy.
Really? Did you have a high opinion of him before?
I did. Yeah, I did, just as an intelligent person, a statesman. But watching him just straight up
An intelligent person.
about Trump, the thing that got me was that very fine people thing, the white supremacist thing. They just kept trying to say that he was a racist, which is this thing that I think worked in like 2017.
Yeah.
You know, I think it worked back then. I don't think it works anymore. I don't think people believe it anymore. I think that we've gotten numb to all this stuff.
Obama cooed Biden, and then Kamala kamikazed the entire party. Republicans have the House and the Senate, and Trump's cabinet nominations are rolling out. Fetterman says Democrats have to chill.
It's still not even Thanksgiving yet. And if we're having meltdowns, every tweet or every appointment or all those things, I mean, it's going to be 4 years.
Democrats need to stop panicking. Stop talking, start listening.
We lost. And I just want to say this to the Democrats. Do me this favor. Shut the up. When you win, you get to say what you want to. When you lose, you need to shut the hell up.
And when Democrats start listening and they don't like what they hear, debate. Don't censor and smear. They've purged everybody they disagreed with from their party and had no idea they were going to lose because they only talk amongst themselves. And it helps if you're a little more likable.
Stop screaming at people to get with the program and instead make a program worth getting with. And a good first step toward that goal would be to make the voters not want to punch you in the face.
And they really need to drop the weird stuff. One Democrat told Politico, I don't want to be the freak show party, like they've branded us. Moderate Democrats are making a play to take back the party from radicals. They're looking from, someone new to run the DNC. But this time, DEI isn't even on the table. A DNC member said, it's white guy winter.
Thoughts?
What was his name? Looked like Stephen Baldwin? The late night show host.
Bill Maher.
Bill Maher, yeah. I just noticed some similarities in the face structure there. I don't know, complete sidetrack, whatever. Anyways, something to think about. So what? They need to stop whining. This is the education phase. This is the education phase for the people in the back who haven't been listening to us this entire time. This is the education phase for the people who we're trying to silence and shut everybody up that they didn't want to hear from because they're fascists. And now the fascists are being told that they need to sit down and shut up for a little while. And maybe you should listen and you should hear all of the reasons why people just don't like you. And it's because of the way you act. But that's okay because we'll show you the right way to do it. And then you'll see that everybody has a chance, the kind of crap that you would talk about over there on the left, but we'll actually show you how it's done because, well, that's just the way it works. It's about actions, deeds, not words.
Yep.
Just throwing that out there.
Yep.
Brother Bill says the Dems and lefties went so far commie while they were kissing Obama's ass, they can't form a non-commie thought anymore.
Yep.
Well, that's the truth.
Yep.
Hey, I can't stand the whole Obama thing.
Yep.
Yeah, and it surprised me about Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Because I thought he was,
Smarter than that?
I didn't want to say that, but yeah.
I'll say it.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
Can you read that, please?
Former Health and Human Services Secretary Azar, if you're going to have a pandemic, don't do it in a presidential year.
Ready?
Yeah.
You mentioned the transfer power. President Trump, when he was campaigning this time around, and also in perhaps the intervening 4 years, according to things he said and also reports that have been out there, that he was surprised by how, when he tried to tout Operation Warp Speed as one of his, if not his administration's greatest accomplishments, he either got no applause or even, if anything, kind of a negative reaction. What's that been like for you? And what's your sense of that, the atmosphere in the country on this topic?
I will say, we did a lot of planning thinking about the traditional issues of vaccine hesitancy that you would face. I mentioned some, but there are also certain communities, upper northwest of the United States, Austin, Texas, parts of Brooklyn, New York, that have real significant pockets of vaccine hesitancy where we've seen risk of measles outbreaks and things before. So we were very focused on that. We, to my memory, didn't have a single discussion worrying about sort of rural, working class, red voters and whether they'd be vaccine hesitant or not. I would take an anthropologist to get to the bottom of it. I haven't fully understood. I do think, we're in a, I think at least a generational, if not a centennial type political realignment that's happening, where traditional notions of Democratic and Republican constituencies are dramatically changing.
We've been talking about that.
Yeah, and I mean, so I think we're not there yet, but I think over time Democrats are going to be much more of a corporatist type, frame, big business, big company, big academia, sort of big clustered together, very coastal, very elite educated, et cetera. And Republicans, where a lot of those key constituencies would traditionally have been sort of the big pharma, big insurance, big, is now much more, I think, the party of small and sort of individual populism. And in fact, healthy, sometimes unhealthy, distrust of institutions, distrust of the establishment. And that's really, that's a major shaking up. And of course, that distrust is what then will lead to things like, if you're suspicious of drug companies, suspicious of government institutions, that's going to feed into issues of, hesitancy around information. I think that, there was so much, my best advice to you, if you're going to have a pandemic, don't do it in a presidential year. Some of the verbiage around the vaccines there, and I don't want to cast stones, but I mean, there were people.
Kamala Harris said, if Trump tells me to take the vaccine, I'm not going to take it. I think that's a direct quote.
Yep. There were people in September, October, basically saying that if a vaccine comes out, a Trump vaccine, basically they won't take it. You had some governors who actually said they wouldn't allow distribution of a Trump vaccine, even if it's FDA approved in their state. New York, most notoriously, California, several others. And that gets undermining of those institutions and sort of undermining of the credibility. So I can't get fully to the bottom. I'm very worried about it, though. I'm very worried about this kind of the vaccine hesitancy for the issues for the future, because I do believe vaccines have been some of the greatest public health tools of modern time and have saved countless millions of lives. I mean, Commonwealth Fund, which is no friend of a Trump administration, they said that Operation Warp Speed saved 3 million American lives and I think over 12 million lives around the world. The International Monetary Fund said that for every 24 hours that a vaccine came sooner, it saved $26 billion.
Wow.
Which, interesting, was the cost of the program. 26 billion was the cost of Operation Warp Speed. So literally in one day, we achieved a repayment of what we spent.
Thoughts?
The whole thing's interesting. The comment about don't throw a pandemic in a presidential election year was an interesting choice. Kind of wonder if he was kind of speaking in the background as to the fact that the pandemic was kind of thrown out there to begin with. I mean, after all, the flu disappeared and all of
It
the
didn't disappear. It went on vacation. It was in the Cayman Islands.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it kind of switched over from influenza to the coronavirus.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was so yeah, I guess they did kind of throw a pandemic, didn't they?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was an interesting choice of words. And you know what? I think that this pandemic that they threw, using the words there, I think that it made more people hesitant to vaccines. It woke up more people to how corrupt the entire healthcare system is. And they made tons of money, and a lot of people died. And I think that there's going to be a reckoning coming soon, and the healthcare industry will learn to care, to put the care back into healthcare. They seem to have forgotten that's what they were to care about, was people's health, not their pocketbooks.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
exactly.
That's what's going to fix more than anything else.
Brother Bill said to Dad, if you're talking about Barry, I've always seen him more as a used tire salesman. LOL.
Used tire salesman.
That's hilarious. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Let's listen.
About this, but if you look at ancient civilizations, and history is my thing, yes, all ancient cultures tell the same bare bones of the ancient stories. They all talk about the pantheon of the gods. They may have different names, but they're describing the same gods. These are cultures that never met each other. They lived in different parts of the world, and they all tell stories about giants, monstrous giants and beasts, monstrous beasts. And again, these were cultures who didn't even know each other, but they all had this echo of the same story. And so when the giants mingled with the animals then gave birth to monstrous creatures. And all of these giants and monstrous beasts just devoured everything that moved. And in fact, we're told in the book of Enoch, and we're told in the book of the giants, that the giants ate so much of the produce of man that there was not much left to eat. So they begin to eat people. They begin to turn and eat one another. They practice cannibalism and the drinking of blood. And that is the reason why, when Noah came off the ark, God strangely gave the first law: you cannot drink blood. Now, what a weird law, right, to give when you just leave the ark. But Noah, just a year earlier, came from a culture where they were eating flesh and drinking blood and practicing cannibalism.
Adrenochrome
And
is
God
a
said,
sin.
we're never going to go back there again. Let's not go back there. No more drinking of blood. It was a reference to what the giants and the monsters were doing. This was a reality. All mythology has its roots in a real story.
Wow.
In Genesis chapter 6.
So even when we talk about the demigods and characters like Hercules and others,
that's all rooted in reality.
All giants and
The ancient world was not stupid. They were not primitive. They formed geometry, science, logic. They built things we can't even build today.
we don't even know how they did it.
These were brilliant people.
The pyramids.
And they were not just worshiping things they made up in their imagination. They remembered when these celestial beings came out of the heavens. You just imagine, Alan, if you were living at that time and suddenly all these celestial beings came out of the heavens, I mean, you would be tempted to worship them.
Yeah.
And people just availed themselves to these beings, and this mixture began to take place.
Thoughts?
You know, that was one of the things that really got me curious before I was like going down any of these rabbit holes, back when I was watching Ancient Aliens on History Channel. And I remember there was a lot of things, and he talks about it. He makes mention of it, although he has the alien bend to it as opposed to the angels, but he does make the correlation between angels and demons and aliens, and about how they could be actually talking about the same thing. The histories around the world, again, pointed out on that show how there are flood myths in the Americas. They're across every continent, across every, stretch of land where humans have inhabited this world. There is a flood story across all of them. And I find that that's very interesting, and it certainly points to it. There's so much that talks about how the Bible is so accurate, especially when so many religions around the world correlate with what's said.
Feel better, Dad. I'm sorry you're getting a migraine. We love you
Uh-oh.
so very much.
Take care, Dad. I love you. Get some rest.
Yes.
All right.
I agree with you.
Oh, that was pretty much it anyways. I was done there.
I know, but what I was going to say is, and he even mentioned the whole adreno thingy.
Yeah, he did with the drinking of the blood. And, it's something that people are probably going to figure out anyway, just merely because it's in the Bible and it says don't do that. And there's always going to be those people that do that very thing that they're told not to do.
I know.
So it's just, some people have to learn the hard way.
Yeah.
Mike says the same amount of time between Adam and Noah until now. That is correct. Yeah. That is correct.
Thank you all for sending prayers to Dad. That means the world to us.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you read that, please?
Let's see. In a second here. There we go. Darren Beattie says, you go with Gaetz or it's absolute Armageddon.
Ready?
This should be interesting. Yes.
I don't think there's anyone in the country who better combines unwavering, demonstrated, repeated loyalty, not only Trump, but the MAGA agenda, acute intelligence and legal expertise, and the ability to navigate the complexities of something like the DOJ. And thirdly, and not least, is that he, arguably more than anybody other than Trump, has experienced the brunt of the very corruption, the very weaponization of the Justice Department that he soon will be in a position to correct. So I think the confluence of these criteria, these three factors, means that he's really the only person to do it. And I think we were so blown away when this announcement was made, and I think that signals something. The Gaetz appointment sets the entire tone for the rest of the appointments. The Gaetz appointment sets the narrative in which we understand how serious the whole suite of appointments actually are in terms of commitment to the agenda and the mandate. And so this is why I think Trump is 100% committed to making this happen, and why all of us absolutely need to redouble our energies and ensure that every single senator understands there is no compromise here. There is no wavering here. You go with Gaetz or it's absolute Armageddon.
Thoughts?
It's going to be Armageddon for the left no matter what.
Oh, I agree.
And they know it. They're just trying to figure out where can they, play.
Mm-hmm.
So pick your poison, left. You're going to play your games anyways, but it's not going to look good for you either way, because all these people that are getting put into place are being put in those places for a very, very specific reason. And I know that it's going to make a lot more sense as time goes on, and just some surface digging kind of explains why Trump is putting people in the places where he's at. This is going to be a masterpiece
going to be
by
biblical.
the time it's done. Oh yeah, it will be biblical.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, Hope says, I've recently been studying about the Anasazi and the Anunnaki.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, that's an interesting rabbit hole too.
It is.
Yeah, that one's you can. There's a lot out there on that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you read that, please?
Yes. Anna Paulina Luna offers a fiery defense of Matt Gaetz.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
This is the same testimony that was, again, dropped by the DOJ and the FBI because these people were not credible. And I will say that for the senators that are coming forward and stating that they need to read this testimony, let's look into these people's stocks portfolios and how they're becoming multimillionaires off of $175,000 a year. The reason why people want outsiders, the reason why people are not buying this Gaetz smear campaign, and that is exactly what it is because of the fact that they understand that there is a two-tier justice system. You know, you mentioned earlier that I do think the DOJ is corrupt. Absolutely. When I find that they're giving special treatment to the Attorney General, that he doesn't have to testify to Congress, yet if any single other American does that, they go to jail, that is absolutely government corruption. But when you're then talking about cabinet picks, you're talking about an ethics investigation. I mean, I'm pretty sure Matt Gaetz has also been investigated for campaign misuse of campaign funds that were also dropped. So the fact is that Matt Gaetz has, again, time and time again, stood up to the swamp. Frankly, I know him as a person. I know his family. And I've been able to be privy to the conversations behind closed doors of members looking forward to this leaked ethics report because they know that it's going to smear him. I'm not going to state who the members are, but what I will state is that that type of behavior, putting this forward to the American people, smearing Matt Gaetz's reputation, and then also undercutting the credibility of President Trump, who, again, the American people trust to lead this nation, I'm not going to play that game.
Thoughts?
So they're going to sling mud and try to cause problems.
Yes,
That's all they got.
exactly.
That's all they can do. All they
But
can
they
do.
got nothing on him. They've already
Well, yeah, they're just rehashing stuff that's already been.
proven to be fake.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Otherwise, they would have done something about it.
exactly.
But they have no shame. They're going to dust off old stuff that they know means absolutely nothing in hopes to continue to try to sabotage Trump's transition to power. But it's not going to work. The thing is
He did not, Colleen. He did not back down on Gaetz.
no, I don't, yeah, I didn't hear. No, I didn't hear that at all. So, but regardless, they're going to try to cause these problems with each and everybody. They're pulling out everything they got, and it really another reason why Trump picked these people, because they're probably unimpeachable at this point in time.
Okay.
He knows what's going to happen.
Uh-huh.
Let's see. Bill says some reporter referred to RFK Sr. as paradoxical Bob back in 1968. In 2024, Bob Dylan is even more paradoxical Bob than Kennedy was in 68.
Let's see that. You ready?
Yeah.
Let's listen.
All right.
If you voted for Donald Trump, I would honestly love to hear your perspective on something. And I promise I'm not trying to set up a trap to go after people. If you're willing to provide your perspective, I will be incredibly respectful as anyone is willing to be to have this conversation. I don't want people fighting in the comments, but obviously from our perspective, we feel like we have heard a lot of authoritarian rhetoric from Donald Trump, and that is scary. And I understand that for a lot of people, especially on the right, they don't think that those are credible threats. And that's what I want to understand. I'm not looking for people to flood my comments with the left has been fear-mongering. I understand people feel that way. What I'm trying to understand is why? Why do people think that this is not a credible threat? I want to understand what it is that goes through your head when you hear him talk about things like lining someone up in front of a firing squad, or the enemy within that needs to be eradicated, or removing checks and balances against his power. Are you thinking, well, he just says crazy shit to get people out to vote, he's not actually going to do it? Or I think he'll be good for the economy, so I'm willing to take the risk? Or even if we move towards...
This creator seems to be nice and respectful and seems to be genuinely asking questions. He's asking, why do you guys not see these things the same way we do? And I think this is fair. I think we should have a reasonable discussion. And I want to bring this to your attention. So do you notice that you told us about 3 things that you interpreted, or that, you summarized what you interpreted that he said, but you didn't actually show us the clips of him saying these things? It's hard to answer your question when we don't have the full context of the situation that you're talking about. So I could find context for 2 of the 3 examples that you gave. The first example you gave was this.
I want to understand what it is that goes through your head when you hear him talk about things like lining someone up in front of a firing squad.
Okay, now to your credit, you made a follow-up video admitting that you put your foot in your mouth when you said this. I respect that. But one thing I want you to pay attention to, again, is you just came out and said that. You didn't show us the context of the clip. And I think this is an important distinction. But let's actually get the context of what Trump said.
Then, go a couple of years forward or go now. And I don't blame him for sticking with his daughter, but his daughter is a very dumb individual, very dumb. She's a radical war hawk, Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it.
Okay, so there's the context on the first situation you were talking about. Now, to make this point even more, let's look up the definition of a war hawk. Like, what is a war hawk? A war hawk is a person who advocates for armed conflict or escalating an existing war rather than attempting to resolve issues through peaceful manners. So Trump is saying that she's a person who likes to go to war, who advocates for that more so than a peaceful way of doing things. And the point he's making is she's not the one who's actually going to war and being shot at. She's not the one who's actually fighting the battles. What he's saying is if she actually had to have that experience, we'd see how much she would like that, and we'd see if she still wanted to be a war hawk. So what he's saying is that she's not actually feeling the results of going to war. She's not really dealing with that. And I think that's pretty clear. I don't really think it's left up to interpretation. I mean, the context is pretty clear with what he's saying. My question to you, on the other hand, would be, why was this interpreted as a firing squad? I mean, even if you think about it, firing squads don't give an individual a rifle to shoot back. That's not how it works. So respectfully, I think part of the reason why we interpret things differently is because we actually go to the source and get the source information and get the full context surrounding what he's saying, compared to many people on the left trusting what their left-wing sources tell them. So let's go to your second example.
Or the enemy within that needs to be eradicated.
Okay, since you didn't provide us any context, I can only guess what you're talking about. And when I was researching it, I found this clip.
What are you expecting? Joe Biden said he doesn't think it's going to be a peaceful election day.
Well, he doesn't have any idea what's happening in all fairness. He spends most of his day sleeping. I think the bigger problem is the enemy from within, not even the people that have come in and destroying our country. By the way, totally destroying our country. The towns, the villages, they're being inundated. But I don't think they're the problem in terms of election day. I think the bigger problem are the people from within. We have some very bad people. We have some sick people, radical left lunatics. And I think they're and it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military, because they can't let that happen.
Okay, so when he talks about the enemy from within, he's talking about people with ideologies, ideals, belief systems, and that have been doing things that he thinks is damaging to the country. Now, I'm not saying he didn't say eradicate them. I would just need you to show us him saying that, and then we could have that conversation. Because again, in your videos, you're not showing us any proof of anything. You're just telling us what Trump said and then expecting to get our reaction off of your interpretation or what you've been told Trump said. But you're not actually showing us what Trump said. And then a lot of cases with Democrats, when you add context to the things they're saying Trump said, or you go to the source material and actually see what Trump said, a lot of their arguments fall apart. For example, like you said, you put your foot in your mouth. Again, when you go back and look at the context, when he's talking about Liz Cheney, it's very clear what he's talking about. And it was not a death threat. He was not threatening violence in any way. Okay, and then here's your third example.
Or removing checks and balances against his power.
So I'm not saying he didn't say that. Maybe he did. Just show us the proof of him saying that, and then we can have the discussion about it. Because in this video, you basically said, why aren't you guys taking these things the way that I'm taking them? But it seems you're not actually going to the source and seeing what Trump said. It seems you're in left-wing circles and you're getting your information from either if it's left-wing media or left-wing pundits or left-wing people on TikTok or whatever. Because the right was not pushing the whole firing squad narrative. It was the left. So a question again I would have for you is, are you actually going to the source material and actually seeing what was said and actually making sure you're getting the full context? Or are you just trusting what your sources are telling you without them actually showing you the full context?
Thoughts?
That final statement right there about, are they showing you the full clip? No, they're not. We already know this. That's the problem that a lot of these people who have
They
been
don't
watching.
want to show you the whole clip because then it'll give you the whole and give you all the information.
Oh yeah, they don't want to give you the full information because then they can't paint the narrative. But the problem is these people believe that, well, it's on the TV. They wouldn't let them lie. But the problem is that they have let them lie. And that's the difficulty that a lot of people are going to be having, is coming to the very realization that the press has been colluding with the traitors from within. And the surprise, surprise, the traitors from within who were giving you the news were in on the gig. And they lied. And so that's going to be a difficult process for a lot of people to try to come to that realization. I know that I didn't trust the press. And then when I saw when it all clicked at that one moment, and I was like, my God, there's absolutely nothing that they're telling the truth about.
Nothing.
And once you get to that point, it's fantastic. But the problem is getting people to that point. Now, people have been getting little pieces of their armor chipped away at them. That armor being what the mainstream media has been telling them. We're trying to break these people out of ice for all intents and purposes, so that way they can actually see what has been happening. And so, as these little pieces of ice have been chipped away, that armor that the lying media has been telling them, they are starting to ask questions now. And now that they're going to start asking questions, we're going to be happy to provide them the answer. And I will say the way that this man responded to the video was exactly what I think we should be seeing, in terms of trying to get people to recognize that it's okay to have a discussion. Now they're ready to have a discussion. And please bring your points. Show me where you saw President Trump say that we're going to be putting people up against a firing squad.
Right.
And then I'm going to say, okay, now let's find the 5 minutes before that statement and the 5 minutes after that statement, and you'll start to see what the press has been doing, how they've been lying to you, and it will make a lot more sense. And when you're ready to go over the impeachment trials that were the dog and pony show that they had there, be happy to show you the truth about the whole thing.
Exactly.
It's going to wake people up.
It is.
It's just going to take a little bit of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see. Chachi says there are far too many examples nowadays of leftist media lying. These days, there's no excuse for these people to push these talking points anymore. There's no excuse for them to, other than the fact that they have to maintain it to keep the little bit of power that they have. Because in the end, it's money, advertising dollars. It is trying to keep political power. And so they're going to try. They're going to try to the bitter end. Chachi says they're just shills or lazy.
Yep.
Yeah, I know.
You ready?
Yeah, but they'll be rooted out. So not worried about them. Yep.
Ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
All right.
As 94 executive orders cascaded down from Washington, D.C., obliterating every immigration policy that had been provided the most secure border in America's history. Border Patrol agents were forced to carry out unconstitutional orders that violated every law in the Immigration Nationality Act. President Biden, through Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, created policy out of thin air, ignored federal immigration law, and facilitated the largest mass invasion into America that the world has ever seen. The United States of America will have spent hundreds of billions of dollars in 4 years to fund the needs of over 50 million illegal aliens that populate our nation. Between 1 in 6 and 1 in 7 residents in America is an illegal alien. America has suffered the greatest demographic shift in modern history. After serving in the United States Border Patrol for 24 years, spending a year researching and writing a best-selling book entitled Invaded, The Intentional Destruction of the American Immigration System, and filming 2 documentaries, I state with complete certainty that Biden, Harris, and Mayorkas intentionally, strategically, and purposely weaponized illegal immigration and used it as a tool to fundamentally transform America.
Thoughts?
Fundamentally transform America. God, who said that? Who wanted to fundamentally transform America? I'm trying to remember. Yeah, that's right. It was some fake ass dude named Barry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was. He's the one that wanted to fundamentally change America, and that's how he did it. Those border problems really did kick up around the time that dude showed up, huh?
Yeah.
Of course, then there was that Crossfire Hurricane, the Fast and the Furious, all those things where they were, giving guns to the illegals and the cartels and stuff like that. God, if anybody was, thanks, Bill. If anybody would have been paying attention, they would have seen that treason, and that's what the press is supposed to do, but they didn't do that. Yeah, it's easy for us to see it every single day.
Kissing his ass.
Well, yeah, because they felt that he was going to be the dictator.
Yeah.
Little did we know he was the dictator, but I mean, that's a little bit different. Yeah.
Big Mike.
Big Mike.
You ready?
House clean's coming, folks.
It is, and it's
Yeah.
going to be biblical.
Yeah.
Ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Let's listen to Craig.
All right.
What does the word of God do for you? God's word will do whatever you need it to do. God's word will give you whatever you need to receive. When you're sad or hurting, God's word encourages you and builds your faith. If you're confused, God's word is a lamp unto your feet, a light to your path. God's word will guide your steps. Whenever you're lonely, God's word will comfort you. Whenever you're hurting, God's word will give you hope. Whenever you're weak, God's word will build your faith and give you strength. I don't know when it'll appear, but 2 a.m. in the morning, if you can't sleep because you're anxious about something, you can quote the word of God that you're desperate for and tell yourself, do not be anxious about anything. But in every situation with prayer and petition, I make my request known to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard my heart and my mind and my soul in Christ Jesus.
Thoughts?
Amen. I can't tell you how many times scripture has helped me maintain my level, which has been a challenge. But when I started to turn to God, and when I finally started to read and understand and comprehend the words that were there and taking it to heart, I found that it is a little bit easier to, well, run to the cross. We've talked about it. And running to the cross is reading the book.
Yes.
Like our job is to, understand our Creator's word. And when we understand his word, it makes everything so much easier. It doesn't take away all the problems or pain. Yeshua, his sacrifice proves that it doesn't guarantee, a bed of roses, right? Well, I don't know, maybe with the thorns.
Maybe.
But thing is life is beautiful despite the challenges. As a matter of fact, if there's anything that I learned, some of the best stories are from the most miserable times.
Exactly.
Enjoy the suck, my friends, because really it's where we are made. And it's when we turn to God in those difficult times that and read that word and find that quote that helps you through is exactly what it's all about. Is putting our trust and faith in God, and he will help us through those difficult times.
He will. Are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Let's go.
All right, let's do it.
Your soul is in your keeping alone. When you stand before God, you cannot say, but I was told by others to do thus, or that virtue was not convenient at the time. This will not suffice. Remember that.
All right.
It was a little quiet there at the end, but he said, remember that. Your soul is in your hands. There's like, I appreciate that a lot of you, feel that there's, some kind of church that goes on here. And I am truly grateful and appreciative that y'all would say that. But you have to go to God yourself, and you have to find that word and what it's telling you, because you will be the one that they're asking the questions about why you did this or that or the other thing. I am very, very human. Kay is very human as well. We are human beings, and we make all sorts of mistakes. And that's why I caution about listening to human beings. Human beings can guide us, and that's a great thing because they can give us understanding that we may not have had. And that's a beautiful thing. And if that's the vessel that he chose us to be, I am truly humbled and grateful for that. But in the end, it's exactly what God wants. And you have to answer to him in the end. And so make sure that when you make your decisions in this life from this point forward, make sure that you think about that long game, that long term. What is God going to ask me about this moment in time? And what did I do? And did I do something that was going to please him? In the end, that's what we're supposed to do. So make sure you're making the good decisions to please our Father who art in heaven.
Yes.
All right,
Very much
everybody.
so.
Kay, do you have any seasoning?
No, sir.
No seasoning on that?
No.
I hear you clicking away over there. You're doing things. You're
I
doing all
am.
the things. All right.
Right.
All right, everybody. Well, we thank each and every one of you for joining us. Make sure you join us tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. What?
Backwards.
I did it again, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific.
There you go.
I'll figure this time thing out eventually. If they'd stop changing it, maybe it'd be easier.
Uh-huh.
Whatever. Anyways, make sure you join us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, X, Rumble, and pill.net.
And if you haven't already, please take a minute and give us that virtual hug. If you're over on YouTube or Rumble, hit that thumbs up. If you're over on pill.net, take that red pill. If you're over on X, smash that heart. And if you're on Facebook, you have like 7 choices. Just pick one.
Clickety, clickety.
Clickety, clickety.
All right, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Have a great night. Be safe. God bless each and every one of you, and God bless America.